One-to-one tuition can seem like the obvious get out from your teaching job. That is, until you get super busy teaching all sorts of things to all sorts of people. While this can seem like a really good problem to have, it does lead to some very specific pain points. So firstly, you've swapped your 60-hour-a-week teaching job for an intensely busy tuition business, and you might find that you've barely reduced your workload at all. That's if you've managed to find any clients in the first place, so you might be on the other end of the spectrum where you're struggling to get clients and you are not actually meeting your financial goals. Your earnings can be uncertain and unsteady, and income definitely drops when it's the school holidays or one of your students is sick, or God forbid you decide to take a holiday. One of the most common problems I find my clients have is they're finding themselves having to say no to lots of perfect students because they've already said yes to lots of imperfect students. They're so busy teaching those students, creating multiple different lesson plans for all these different needs, that they don't actually have the time and headspace to sort that mess out and figure out how they're going to streamline their business so they can just target the students that they'd really love to work with. The problem there is they're seeing these near perfect students go off into the sunset with other tutors, which can be incredibly frustrating when all you want to do is say no to these ones and yes to those ones. If you're tired of teaching all kinds of subjects or all kinds of levels to all different ages and different needs, then maybe it's time to consider a more streamlined approach where you can just choose that one thing that gives you the most joy, that you have the most skill set in, and just create one program that solves one problem for one kind of student. So how do we transition away from one-to-one and towards group tuition? It all comes down to the structure. So you need 3 things. Number 1 is you need a curriculum that gets one ideal student all the way through from where they are now to where it is they need to go. You might want to tutor maths students who are hovering at a grade 4 or a 5 and help them get a grade 7. So you need to find students that all have that problem and all have that goal. And then you map out your process of getting them from A to B. This might take you 12 weeks, for example. And it's so much easier when you have 10 students that all want the same outcome, rather than tutoring 10 different students with a load of different needs. Number 2 is delivery. It's not just about bunging all your students in a Zoom room once a week and hoping for the best, far from it. You have to create your pathway in a recorded format so that they can access this at any time. That then puts the onus on the student to actually take some responsibility for their learning, because they have to access this in their own time and prepare for your group sessions. So by creating a curriculum, that takes the pressure off you to actually teach and really, have to repeat yourself a gazillion times when you're live with your students. It actually means that they arrive to your group sessions somewhat prepped, so they know the core content, and you're there to facilitate going deeper and being far more productive in your sessions. You also need to have some way that they can reach out to you in between sessions. We all know that 7 days is a long time. If the child is sick or has a netball match or it's the holidays, it can sometimes be something like 3-4 weeks in between their sessions. And retention of information, as we know, can be really poor even in just a 7-day period. So what's really important for your students to get really great results is that they've got a way of reaching you in between their sessions. And no, it doesn't mean letting your students book into your calendar for whole hours of Zooms. What we're talking about here is a simple email reach out or a messaging function. In my program, the Hour Tutor, we use an app for communicating in between sessions. So I'm not spending hours and hours on Zoom one-to-one with my clients, but they're able to reach me and ask me simple questions that get them unstuck in between sessions. That's where you really see accelerated progress. The third and most important thing you need is a really strong message in your marketing. Now, this is where a lot of one-to-one tutors find it really difficult, and it's not your fault. If you're teaching all sorts of things to all sorts of people, then your marketing message cannot be clear. And if you're not sure what your message is, then your clients or your prospects are not going to have a clue what it is you're offering either, and they'll go elsewhere. The magic of having one streamlined group tuition program is, because you're only solving one kind of problem for one kind of student, it's really easy to talk about that. And your marketing message really is just empathizing with that student. What are the problems that they're having? How can you help them? Is your solution a match for their needs? It's that simple. When you know exactly who you're helping and how, your marketing becomes really, really simple. And that's exactly what I help tutors with in my program, the Hour Tutor. Contrary to popular belief, a group program can actually help your students way more than a one-to-one tuition relationship. One-to-one tuition can be really intense on the tutor and draining on the student. It can also just create a relationship of dependency where they actually check out of their lessons at school. They're not really engaging with it because they just think, oh, I'll wait till I see my tutor. Some tutors even report that they find themselves just doing their homework with the student because the student doesn't actually engage with anything unless they're with their tutor. That's not ideal. And actually, as far as parents are concerned, they're throwing their money down the drain a lot of the time. Many students end up working with their tutors for as long as 2 to 3 years. When you think that the hourly rate of an average tutor can be anywhere upwards of £30 an hour, that can run into the thousands by the time that you've been with your tutor for 2 years plus. We're doing the opposite here. So whilst a group tuition programme might be seen as the poorer cousin, it really is not. When you structure it in the right way, it's actually going to have far more impact and solve your student's problem much more quickly. So the upfront cost may look like more, but a discerning parent will be able to see the value of that actually by getting their student becoming more independent and to solve their problem in 12 weeks rather than 2 years is actually going to give them more bang for their buck. Furthermore, this frees up the child to actually go back to their regular activities after a 2, 3 or 4 month period, rather than having to substitute their netball or their swimming or their football for their regular tuition session on an ongoing basis. So the beauty of a well-structured group tuition programme is it actually gets the job done faster, the student is more engaged, is more independent, and they can go back to their regular activities as soon as 12 weeks after the programme is finished because they've already fixed the problem by that point. This means you get to charge professional fees, and in the long term, the parent actually saves money. So no more pay-as-you-go tuition. Instead, you're a professional who is not selling hourly rates anymore. Instead, you're providing a transformation, an outcome that's really tangible and that has a start, middle, and a clear defined end. That's a win-win for you, the parent, and the student. If you want to explore this model a little bit more, then please check out the link in the comments and you'll find everything you need to know.